Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Adventures Travel Club television show. We find ourselves back at the Panama Canal. And Betty, right now we're going to go through what they call a Gaillard, I believe that's the correct pronunciation of it, cut. And this is the area where right now it seems to be the narrowest in the Panama Canal. And they're doing over $200 million worth of work here to cut down both of these hills on either side. And in fact, probably next year when we take our trip back down to Panama again, we probably won't see too much of these two mountains.
Oh, I don't know. It's going to take quite a while. You know, I had a very interesting side thing about this. I was over at the office the other office, and talking to Alice Tom. You know Alice, of course. And her son has the wonderful title of a physicist geologist. There are only 15 of them, but anyway, he gets called all over the world for land problems, and she knew we were going to the Panama Canal, and so she was telling me about him, that he was just called there recently when they're doing all this cut now, because they needed the services of someone with that much expertise to make sure that they would not take too much, or they wouldn't take too little, or they wouldn't cause some kind of upheaval. Because anytime you fool around with leveling land, or that changes the underneath structure.
Certainly
and
does,
so you have to be really careful of landslides. I didn't get the particulars, but I thought, golly, how interesting to have somebody that close to us right here, and that knows things.
Experts in the world,
and then but has something that knows so much intimate things like this about where we're going. Yeah. So anyway, I thought that was neat.
That is neat. Well, the ship is moving slowly now through this area, and of course the question is, why are they going to make this bigger? Because what they want to do is to be able to allow bigger ships, and of course many of these cruise liners now are building mega ships, so they want to be able to let those pass through the Panama Canal. Because as we learned, I think, in the last show, the amount of money that is saved by going through the canal rather than going clear around the tip of South America is there's quite a savings. They were saying a ship probably about our size would cost around $45,000, where a ship then approximately the same size would have to go clear around the continent. That cost them about $250,000, plus an awful lot of time too. So,
when you talk about $1 million over there, that's just a drop in the bucket. You know, I think it's like $200 million it costs to run the place. Something like this. Anyway,
well, I know they put $200 million into the project to widen the canal.
Yeah.
And you're probably right, because that is going to happen over the next 20 years. So maybe the hills will still be there next year.
I think all of this is a slow process, because it has to be done while everything is still in motion. You cannot stop the traffic.
No.
And like our highways right now, doing highway 41. When I come to work. It seems like it's been forever that they're working on that. So, and this is something where they can put many men, they have access using trucks, etc., etc. Here you're limited. So I think it's a magnificent engineering feat that they're accomplishing here.
And you can see as we're going by here that there is a lot of work that's going on through here, and that goes day and night, from what I understand. It's the same way with the maintenance of the canal. It's a day and night situation. Betty, I didn't realize that the canal is a free zone, and that's the world's second largest free trade zone after Hong Kong. Did you realize that?
Well, I want to tell you something. I have to admit that I have learned more since I've been traveling than I did in all my years of teaching. Because when you take a trip like this, you do a little research before you go, and then you realize how little you did. So you come back, and then you learn some more. So it's tremendous history, and it's kind of fulfilling then to realize that you are learning something with your old age.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself. No, it's true. You can always learn. That's the greatest thing about it. Hey, we're coming up now to our next set of locks, because we're going to head toward the Pacific. So this would be the Pedro Miguel locks. And look at that big cargo ship, Betty, up there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you suspect that one cost a few more dollars than ours to
I would
go
guess
through
it
here?
cost a few more dollars. Marv, we were talking a little bit about history, and I didn't realize, see, this is how I became smart by studying this stuff, that Teddy Roosevelt was the big gun behind
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And it like what was saying, you speak softly and carry a big stick. By golly, he did. He was full of threats and intimidations and the whole ball of wax.
You can see now here the gates are opening, and we're going to, our ship then will be put in there, and then we'll be lowered down into the lock, and then we'll go out further, and we're going to go through another set of locks after that.
Isn't that amazing how that works?
It really is. Look at that.
You have to visualize it, don't you, to be able to understand the process that it goes through, the lowering and the raising.
And here we see that the those gates are almost all the way open. So now we're going to move into position, and they do this rather quickly. I mean, they don't mess around at all. You know, they've got a big schedule to keep on.
Well, they allow so many, or only so many can fit through the locks per day. And so they have the regular schedule that has to be followed.
Here's our captain and the new pilot. We had a pilot on the Atlantic side. Now we have a new pilot on the Pacific side. And now you can see these are what they call the mules, or the little electric cars there that those cables will be tied onto the ship, and will pull the ship actually into place, into the lock.
What did you find out how much those things cost, those little babies?
Well,
and they're going up.
Yeah, I think our guy told us in the last show that these things started out, about, I don't know, $25,000-$35,000, something like that. Now they're up to over $1 million.
I thought they were closer to $6 million.
Well, they might be.
I mean, I know that, well, of course that's inflation, but when you think of how prices increase, you can understand why it isn't an inexpensive venture to even cruise through the canal, because they have the expenses to meet of what the ships are having to pay to go through.
No, that's right. And as I say, those cargo ships that we see there, that's already in the lock, they probably had to cough up a pretty penny. Well, now we're just looking straight down onto the cement right there, which and we can see the track where the what they call the mule, or the electric car, travels. And there's one of the operators right there. They have several of these, and you can see now those are the lines that are tied to the ship. So try to get a shot of that as much as possible. Is a little bit difficult to do, but we take a look at it right here, and you can see that water churning up as it fills or unfills the lock. Well, this was kind of surprising to me in that besides those what do you call the mules, or the electric cars that are pulling us through, we also have tugboats, and we see that there was a tugboat that was behind the ship, and we were also tethered to that as well. So I guess that has to be there to keep us from hitting the sides, huh?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking, as I'm seeing the picture, that my cabin, when I would go down to my cabin, I could look out the porthole, and I could actually see the marks on the walls of where the water had been, and where the water comes up again. It's just very, very interesting.
It's interesting.
It's a weird
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, there we go. Now we can see I don't know if we're being pulled or pushed. I guess we're being just held in place anyway. And you can see from either side there.
Yeah, how many hours it takes to go through the Panama Canal?
Isn't it 8 hours from start to finish?
At 8 and 1.
9 hours.
9 hours.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. Well,
to
that's
go
good.
through. But you know, if you were thinking as you're watching this, oh, I couldn't stand there for 9 hours. Well, you know, you don't.
A lot of people didn't.
stand
They
there.
went in and played bingo, had
you
lunch.
go have lunch, or you do
Right.
you go to a movie, even if it's a good one, and then you come back and continue where you left off.
But you know, it's surprising though to see how many people actually line the decks here to watch every bit of this.
You can't get a place right in the beginning, but they put chairs up on the deck there. I don't know whether it's the Lido deck, one of them anyway. No, it wouldn't be the Lido because it's forward, and so people can have a seat, and they put a little canopy over it for people that we
We use the
got
canopy
up-
both times, in
we
the rain
st-
and the sun
we
both, right?
stood up. Well, no, we sat, or at least I did, sat on one of the pipes that come out, one of the big round things, and then they came up and made me get off. So anyway,
You were in a
was
place
good
where you
seat.
should not
It
have
was
been,
a good
huh?
seat for a while.
Now, what do you know about the Panama Canal Treaty? We entered one in October 1st, 1979, and that replaced the 1903 treaty that the United States and Panama had, right?
Yeah, well, these treaties are funny things because it goes all the way back to the days of Roosevelt, when he did the first one, and he was such a character, and he got a blame for a lot of things, but a lot of things he deserved, and he really twisted arms and did a lot of things. And like he says, there was much accusation about my having acted in an unconstitutional manner. He says, well, I just took the isthmus, started the canal, and then left Congress. So he didn't have to take the static that his predecessor had to take. But predecessor is before, isn't it? So it wouldn't be his predecessor, it would be the one that came after him. What is that, what do you call it?
Antecessor. No, no.
I know
Don't get
I know
me
there's
in
a
those
name for it,
games.
but
All right.
anyway, I just think that we all know about his reputation as kind of a wild man, actually, and ruthless in many ways. When he saw something, he didn't wait for permission. He just
did
went
it.
ahead and did it.
I want it done, and I want it done right now.
Yeah, and it did. And if it hadn't been for him, we probably would not have I suppose eventually it would have happened. But anyway, I think that's
Well,
kind
the
of an
French couldn't
interesting-
make it happen. I mean, they tried and they failed at it.
Well, that's where we got it. We paid them. How much did we pay them? $10 million, I think, for their right
Boy,
to
that was
it.
a bargain, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, Colombia.
And the right to get malaria, yellow fever.
But Colombia wouldn't let us. They were the ones that kind of held it up, and then they had that big power structure, and they had the overthrow of the government and all of that sort of stuff. So all of these intrigues that take place all the time, and so we sort of came out on the top, I think.
This ship that you see right here in the picture, this is a ship that takes automobiles and transports them. And this is a huge ship. I was just amazed when we saw this. And if you take a look over here on the one side, you see that there's a rampway that's already put right up against the ship, but that's where they drive these cars in and out.
Yeah.
And they can haul a lot of cars in
Let
that
me
ship.
ask you something. I didn't see this happen. I didn't see any boats, cars come off the
No, they didn't come off the boat. They
No,
were
but
transferring them.
But I'm wanting to know, when they do take the boats, God, I can't get my mouth together here. When they take the cars off, do they drive them individually, or are they? Do you know how it works?
Oh, they'd have to drive them individually.
They
yeah.
they don't have
Yeah.
they don't.
Haven't you ever seen when you've been down like San Pedro in that area where the ships come in and then they unload those cars and there's just thousands of them. You know,
and they have
that are parked.
drivers that just
Yeah.
they have to put gasoline and stuff in them then.
Oh,
or?
sure.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
I know they're not going to.
Well, unless
on
they're
the water,
electric or diesel,
yeah.
I mean,
But I don't know. I just thought maybe they had like mules, like this little thing
I
here
don't
that
think
would.
so, no.
They actually have people that drive them
Sure.
off and then have them in a parking lot until the dealer or
Until
whoever
the dealer
bought
picks
them
them up.
comes and
Mhm.
picks them up. Huh?
Right, I think so.
They're
Yeah.
very interesting. That's
The-
just your, of course. No, that I was going to say that's your foreign-made cars. Our cars are foreign-made cars when they go to another country, aren't they? So it works both ways for
You
that.
can see right now how much bigger this ship is, this cargo ship, than the passenger ship that we're on right here, because we're almost up on the top deck, not quite, but that ship just really
at the
towers
height
above
of it, huh?
doesn't it? It's just huge,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's a massive thing.
Wonder how many cars.
Lots.
Good payload, huh?
Lots,
Yeah.
right? Yes. It's something. Well, Betty, now the Panama Canal is going to go back to the Panamanians. What is that? December 31st, 1999.
Yep. And not only does the Panama Canal go back to them, but so do our American bases. We have to turn them over, and the troops can remain there only by agreement. And the minute they agree to disagree or whatever, out they go. So, but it's still going to be maintained to a certain extent, but not much at all, and only with permission. Only permission.
I read somewhere that the United States warships will be entitled to passage of the canal at all times, and that the United States will continue to have the right to ensure that the canal remains open and secure. Evidently, that was probably in the treaty that was drawn up in 1977, I believe.
Well, I that's right. But the people in Panama really don't want. Well, it's a mixed bag, really. But our economy for them, or what we do for their economy, is so good that many of them really hate to see us pull out, because they depend on us for our buying power. I'm talking about the businesses.
Well, and you just think of the military bases there too.
Yes.
I mean, how much money that must bring into the Panamanian economy.
Well, we caused a little havoc when we went in there in
We certainly did.
1989. You know, our U.S. invasion there, trying to oust Noriega.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so many Panamanians were killed, and we never did really compensate Panama for the families that were killed. And so all of this goes into the treaty too. You know, I've been griping my head off about, we're giving it back to Panama. But when you read the treaty and you read exactly what took place before, you don't feel so badly about it. You know, we always hate to give away a possession, though.
Right.
To think of how we got it.
Yeah, you're right. When you're going to take it, you better give it back. The Panamanian citizens currently comprise 87% of the canal workforce. So that doesn't leave an awful lot for foreigners as such. So
No.
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Well, Panama has a really good educational system. You know, their primary language is Spanish, but they all speak English. All the businesses and things are transacted in English there. And of course, with our American bases there, and that would almost necessitate that to happen.
I was interested to see, again, we're talking about some of these facts and figures, the annual percentage of toll revenues assessed at 35 cents per net ton brought in $60.2 million in the year 1990. Isn't that something?
What is it, 35 cents?
35 cents.
What? A ton?
Per Panama Canal net ton.
Ton. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's there were a lot of tons that went through there. Those were just the figures for 1990. So you can imagine what it is, a few years later.
So how do you think they weigh it? There's scales of the ship. Well, I mean that sincerely. They must have under the scales.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Well, they
really
know how
don't
much
know.
the ship weighs, and then when they put the ship on a scale.
Well, they know what the tonnage of the ship is,
Yeah.
and you
know
have
the
to file
cargo.
papers on all of that stuff too. Yeah, we should mention that we are in Miraflores Lake here, and we go through also the Miraflores Locks, and then we come out at the port of Balboa.
That's such a pretty name, isn't it? Miraflores.
Miraflores, right?
Yes.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
And it is beautiful. Look
here,
at that.
isn't it?
It's so peaceful. It's so calm looking. And we come back after coming through the dredging, and you see the manual labor, and then to see tranquility.
It's very, very beautiful.
Fort Clayton is going to be in your port side. So when we are positioned inside the lock chamber, be on the port side to see one of the U.S. military bases. It's going to be in your port side, the left-hand side of the ship. So that's when we enter the locks. Fort Clayton, Army South, one of the U.S. Army bases, that's Fort Clayton. You have to be on the port side, the left-hand side of the ship.
Well, what you're going to see coming up next is kind of surprise you a little bit on how they get the ropes out to the ship as we go through this Miraflores Lock. They actually use a rowboat, and you can see the guys right here. They're handling the ropes and then cables on the other end of that, and they're going to row right over to the ship, place it on there, and then you'll see what happens.
It's so amazing. It's so archaic to have that kind of a facility when you have all these magnificent other inventions that they've done. You think they'd even have like a little gun that would that would shoot it over, and reach its target? Well,
this is probably giving more people work, right?
Oh, I'm sure you're right.
Something like that. Speaking about the Panama Canal, I get so excited about it I can hardly pronounce it. We are going to be going back to the Panama Canal, and that is going to be when, Betty?
April the 3rd, 1999.
And we have some cabins that are still left, but they are going fast, aren't they?
Well, there's still cabins, but selection, people that sign up early like to get the middle of the ship. And of course, since I have a 45% discount off the brochure price.
Isn't that wonderful?
And also, if you're an alumni of Holland America, you get a 2-cabin upgrade. It's almost too tempting to not take advantage of it. So if anybody out there watching this is thinking to yourself, by golly, I want to do that, give me a ring and we'll work something out.
The other trip that we have going to that we just might mention that will be coming up, we're going to take a trip to Thailand in January, right?
January, and we'll go back to cruising. We also are going to Alaska in July, and we're going to do the Inside Passage, which is always such an interesting one. We leave from Vancouver and do Inside Passage, Ketchikan, Skagway, whatever, and on up, and then we come back on a different way back to Vancouver. So you just fly from into Vancouver and home from Vancouver. And so I have 35% off that and cabin upgrades.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, and
That's
for Alaska,
wonderful.
yeah. So we've been doing business with Holland America for quite some time now, and we have built up enough credibility with them that we do get some very fine offers, and we're happy to pass them on to you.
Right, and they are a very, very fine cruise line. We've been so happy with all of the cruises that we've had on Holland America.
Oh, yeah. They have that ambiance, and they're smaller. Oh, I'd hate to be on one of those 2,500 people.
The big mega ships?
I get lost as it is with
On the small
with that
ones.
many, yeah. Oh, man, I'd find my way back when we were ready to land.
There you can see the military base, and of course that will be one too, as you stated, that will probably be turned over to the Panamanian government. And we're getting closer now to more of a city area here, as we are ready to leave the locks here. This is actually, we're getting into what would be the port of Balboa, and then after that, after we pass under the bridge, we will be out into the Pacific Ocean.
Tell me about that bridge.
The bridge that we saw just a little while ago?
I don't know.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that that probably is the bridge for the Pan American Highway. It goes all the way down to Panama, doesn't it?
Yeah, one of my neighbors did
Alaska
that
to
one
Panama,
time.
isn't that it?
Yeah.
So, and judging from the way that the Panamanians are keeping the things in good condition here, that would probably be a pretty good road in through there.
I think there's certain aspects that aren't too good, but my neighbor, as I said, did that. But when it was first opened, and of course there were a lot of perils connected with it.
Oh, I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Off to our left, as we get a little further here, would be the city of Panama City, which is quite large.
Is
there.
that port side?
Yes, it is, as a matter of fact.
See,
yes,
I'm learning.
Yeah, good. Okay, so now you won't get lost on the
No,
trip
as long
after
as
all,
you
right?
say left, you see.
Oh,
and
okay.
I know left is port.
Now you can see here, the gates have already closed behind this, the Ever Royal, that ship
That
from Panama,
container,
and it has already been lowered. So as we go past this, we're going to get into position, and then our ship will be lowered as well. Isn't that something? Look at
Yeah.
that. Wow.
It just makes you so aware of how intelligent people are. Well, our people. I mean, the combination of everybody, the ability that God gives us to be able to figure out things like this. And I'm sure there are more that could do it if they just took the time and had the energy to want to learn things like this. But we are so blessed.
Well, it is really a magnificent feat, this Panama Canal, and probably always will be. But now what do you say, let's go inside the ship for a little while, because they have some games going.
Let's.
In the G column, 50. G50. In the G column, 59. G59. Hey, Jamie. I got scared him. He's running. G49. In the B column, 10. B10 and a couple possible bingos. Go on, a nice little bingo hug. Come on, big old bear there. There you go. Your names, please, and where you're from?
Henrietta. Leroy, Sacramento.
Leroy from... Whoa. Was that South Carolina? What part? Oh, Sacramento. That's not... Both gentlemen from California, they're splitting $140.
Okay, now what are you doing today, Alma? What do you got there in your hands?
Oh, I'm making a, what do I call it? A name tag.
A name tag. And where did you get it?
I got this by going to the craft class.
Oh, well then, of course you're artistic anyway, and you do like that sort of thing. What have you been doing in the meantime, Jack? What do you do?
Eating.
Eating?
I'm ready to eat again.
Yeah, the food is good, huh?
Terrific.
Yeah, we have Jack and Alma May, who have been with me on trips before, and just talked a little bit about going to Turkey with us next year, which will
Yeah,
be quite
when you
fun.
going?
Yeah, next year. Let's put it that way. And then over here, right next to Jack, is Margot Belando. And Margot, how you liking this trip?
Very, very much.
Very
good.
restful?
Yes,
Huh?
restful. A lot of nice things to see from Cayman Islands to Panama Canal.
Were you as impressed with the Panama Canal as you thought you might
Oh
be?
yes, yes. More so. I didn't know what to expect, but it really
It was great,
was
huh?
amazing.
Wasn't it kind of fun when with the rain? And
It was raining all day yesterday at the Panama Canal, but I think it was actually better that it did rain. We did not have the sun coming down on us
And
as
beating,
before
yeah.
in Colombia.
I thought it made it real interesting and fun because it was warm,
Uh-huh.
and even though we got wet, you didn't
Yes.
get cold.
Yeah.
So it was
actually pleasant staying
I
out
thought
there
so too.
on
And then
deck.
I have over here Ina Patty, and Ina, this is your first trip with us, and would be because you are in Washington, Spokane, Washington. And Ina knew somebody that knew somebody that knew. Well, actually, Jack and Alma's brother and sister told their friends up there in Oregon about going, and then she contacted you. She had to have a partner. Did you? Is this your first sailing?
No, I went to Alaska.
You did.
On the cruise.
Yeah. So you're a cruise person?
Yes.
Oh,
That's
good.
the only way to travel,
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned. You don't have to put your bags out every morning, and it's a way to rest.
Yeah. Holland America's a fine line too.
I think it's one of the best.
So if you're interested in cruising with us to the Panama Canal or to Alaska, give Biddy a call at
488-7443.
That's all the time we have now. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.